The legendary PNG Kumuls. Mate, this is a team that people are excited for. Currently ranked number 5 in the International Rugby League rankings, and you'd love to see them win, wouldn't you?
Oh, mate, I think PNG are one of those teams that are such a proud rugby league nation. It's actually their number 1 sport over there.
They love
which
it.
Is
yeah.
insane to think that such a small country has such a big passion for playing, and we're starting to see those players really develop. Guys like Justin Olam, especially Alex Johnston's been around for years, and Xavier Coates there as well, who their wings are going to be elite. I just think at this point in time they're really flying under the radar, especially in their group, with Tonga being such a talked about powerhouse, and they've got the forward pack over them. But the Kumuls play with and against each other a lot, and that can't be understated. It's kind of like a team that we were talking about earlier in our videos, France. Though that French team have picked a lot of players from the same team, the same competition. They play with each other a lot. In this competition, that's going to be vital. Having a lot of chemistry, and Papua New Guinea have it in spades.
Oh yeah, and I think for them it comes out more in defense than it does in attack, just from watching them previously. Like, they really trust each other, and there seems to be this attitude in the team where no one feels entitled to anything. Like, in defense, they all play like they feel like they have to earn their spot in the team every single play. Like, I remember seeing them in international games where, who was it? Who's the half who put on a real defensive masterclass a few years ago? Was it? It might have been Labart or someone else. Like, I just remember seeing
Boaz. Boaz is also a half as well. So.
Potentially. I think it was Tonga sending a lot of back rowers. And we talked about the back row rowers at Tonga, but sending a lot of traffic at some smaller halves for Papua New Guinea, and they just turn up and hit every play. And people think Justin Olam's a freak with how hard he hits, but a lot of these guys defend the same way. So you're not going to run over Papua New Guinea. You're probably not going to run around Papua New Guinea with Xavier Coates and Alex Johnston there. You're going to have to just win the war of attrition against them. And look, I know you've got big raps in this team. And before we go into some of these players and these X factors, tell everyone, what do you think they're going to do in this pool?
Yeah, as we said previously, Pool D is just such a competitive pool. You don't know you think you might know who's going to win it. And the toss-up for second is up for debate. I mean, the Cook Islands are no joke. And I don't think the Welsh team is anything to be sneered at as well. So I just think that the Kumuls, with the amount of time that they've had to prepare for this World Cup, playing at a second-tier level at NRL for the PNG Hunters, is an astonishing achievement, especially in the last few years. It's prompted even some people saying that we should have a permanent Papua New Guinean team in the NRL. I don't think they're quite at that stage yet, but seeing them go out there every time, as you said, they play with passion, they play with a lot of heart, they feel like they're carrying their entire nation on their shoulders, and it's wonderful to see. I just think as well, if they can get that ball to the left edge of Olam and Coates, or Olam and Johnston, that's going to be a lethal edge, because they all play for two of the best teams in the league. So I think a lot falls on these two halves as well. Lachlan Lamb is probably going to play 6, along with Kyle Labart, who is a Cowboys guy through and through, Townsville boy, plays for the Blackhawks up in Townsville. So he's had a bit of a taste at NRL level, but thoroughly experienced in the lower grades. And Lachlan Lamb, I think we forget how good Lachlan Lamb can actually be, because he's had such an unlucky run with injuries. It's tough to really, I guess, put a number on the amount of contributions he could make. I know you're a big fan of Lachlan Lamb.
I've taken Lachlan Lamb in Supercoach drafts a couple of times. Like, he's talented. He defends well. He runs hard. He can position his outside players. I think he's got a bit of talent. One weird thing about this team is when we've been talking about previous teams, we talk about top flight talent a lot, and we pretty much rank teams based on their top flight talent. So based on top flight, meaning elite Super League players and strong NRL players to elite NRL players there as well. This is the one team I look at that punches above its weight in that regard. So when we talk about elite tier talent outside of the international game, just on a day-to-day basis, Alex Johnson is an excellent finisher. Xavier Coates is an excellent finisher. Justin Olam is a monster at centre. Outside of that, there aren't a lot of names that the average NRL fan is going to know. Looking at this, there's a lot of good players, but not a lot of names the NRL fans are going to know. So, yeah, what you're saying about them sort of having that pride in the jersey, and oh, man, it would be good to have them having a team in the league every week.
Yeah.
A couple of external signings. They probably beat the Dolphins pretty comprehensively, I reckon, if we played them tomorrow. Not a diss on the Dolphins. Similar jerseys, which is a problem, but we could make it work. But no, like they punch above their weight, is what I'm saying. Like, Johnson probably plays fullback with the way the team is right now.
You'd have to give him that, yeah. I just think with this team as well, I think a lot of people forget that they beat Fiji quite comfortably earlier this year. So that for them is kind of the standard that they need to keep up. So I think going into this World Cup, I think they easily secure wins over Wales and the Cook Islands. It'll be that Tonga matchup that really tests them, especially with Jason Taumalolo out. I give them a huge shot.
I don't mind that either. They're big outsiders on the bookies, and they shouldn't be. They're going to be more fired up than anyone as well. Like you just know they're going to rock up to play. So you reckon 3-0? Look, I've personally got them as 2-1, making it through this part of the tournament. There are teams that are going to make it through that they could definitely beat. They've been in the finals before.
Yeah, you look at the other groups, and the person or the teams that are going to go through as the second team in that group are potentially weaker than the two teams that are going to come out of this Pool D.
Oh, yeah.
So you look at teams like a potential France or even an Italy or,
let's
Greece.
Let's go higher. Let's throw a Lebanon. Let's throw a Fiji, who they've pumped in the past.
Mate, Fiji aren't like that. What are you talking
You've
about?
got Italy beating Fiji. But no, like they could easily do. I mean, look, the draw needs to fall their way a little bit, and they're making leaps and strides. Like, I think in terms of most improved nations and nations rising, I love them. I love their story. They're just going to keep getting better and better because NRL players are coming out of Papua New Guinea now. So scouts and investments is going to go into that country and that development program. They're just going to keep stepping up. So if you were great in this tournament, though, and we talk about this a bit, what's your pass mark for Papua New Guinea? Is it... I reckon... Before I even wait for your answer, I reckon it depends on who you lose to. So it's not a particular part of the tournament they have to make it to. I think they'd be okay, not okay, but they would be okay with losing to Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, England. If they were bundled out by anyone other than that top four, they'd be absolutely filthy with themselves. And even within that, they'd quietly back themselves against Tonga, against England, Australia, New Zealand. You'd be okay with losing to those nations. What's your feel on a pass mark here?
Look, I think the pass mark for them is if they're going to be one of those teams that doesn't work or it does. And we've seen in the past that they have the players to be able to, connect really well. And that's going to be the measure of metric for them. If they can really hit their passes, hit their lines and really go take it to the opposition and back their defence, as you said. I think they'd be disappointed if they didn't get past the quarterfinal stage. I know it's tough for them, but they're really jostling between Tonga and Samoa for that kind of fourth best nation spot, and have been for a while now. And Papua New Guinea, I think we forget, they've been relevant a lot longer than some of those other nations that I just mentioned, but haven't seemed to be able to, I guess, squeeze the talent out that they need to at the right times because of the NRL investment to go Pacific rather than to Papua New Guinea. I think now guys like Olam and Alex Johnston and Coates are really proving that you don't have to be from one of those big tier nations to make it worthwhile to be able to represent your country. So I think Papua New Guinea, their pass mark is going to be beating a team above them. If they do get first in that Pool D, I'd be ecstatic.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. Yeah. No, if they can do that, that's massive. Because Tonga's arguably number 3. Tonga's favourites against England. Tonga has to prove it this tournament, but a lot of people would have them as number 3.
I think maybe I've bought into the Tonga hype previously and they've let me down, so I'm not as high on them this time. But we'll see. I think Papua New Guinea can eke it out. I just think there's too much chemistry there.
Okay, I like it. Well, look, Papua New Guinea, we're going to be analysing the games as we go through this tournament as well. So a lot of these names that we're not as familiar with, they'll be in focus if they can put in the performances. I know I'll be looking out for Gebby and Boas in particular. I've heard good things about those guys. Sort of seen them here and there too. But PNG getting through this round. See what they can do in the finals.